Bitcoin rises as new economic data shows signs that inflation may be cooling off. Robinhood launches crypto staking for customers in the EU. And Rob Haddock, general partner of crypto-focused venture firm Dragonfly, discusses the upcoming expected decision from the SEC on spot Ether ETFs. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Mackenzie Sigalos. Cryptocurrency is getting a boost today after the release of the latest consumer price index, which showed that the rate of inflation is slowly coming back down. Bitcoin jumped sharply after the release of that data this morning, trading well above the $64,000 price level by noon Eastern. Ether also climbed to just under $3,000, and Cardano rose to 45 cents. Okay, let's get to the top stories. Ryan Salem, the former CEO of FTX Digital Markets, is asking for an 18-month prison sentence for his role in the collapse of the crypto exchange. In a filing on Tuesday, attorneys for Salem said that he should face a sentence below federal guidelines because he had absolutely no knowledge that top executives at FTX and Alameda Research conspired to steal from customers. Now, they asserted that Salem had stolen from no one and was duped like everyone else. At the same time, they said that he had, quote, lapses in judgment, but that his actions were motivated by the desire to build a lawful business and advance crypto for societal good. Back in September, Salem pleaded guilty to conspiracy to operate an unlicensed money transmitting business and conspiracy to make unlawful political contributions and defraud the Federal Election Commission. Next, Circle, the issuer of the USDC stablecoin, is trying to shift its legal home base ahead of its upcoming IPO. A Circle spokesperson confirmed to us that its parent company filed paperwork with the High Court of the Republic of Ireland to re-domicile the company to the United States. The move comes as Circle prepares for a U.S. IPO, which is expected once the SEC completes its review. And many companies often pick Ireland as a home base for its low taxes, but the country recently hiked its corporate taxes to 15% for some of the biggest businesses. That's still lower than the U.S.'s 21% effective tax rate, though. Finally, Robinhood Crypto is launching staking for users in Europe. The company announced that customers in the region can stake Solana directly through the Robinhood app to let them earn rewards. That feature launches alongside new learning tools for crypto investors and region-specific apps with local languages. The VP and general manager of Robinhood Crypto said in the announcement that the update was a significant step in bringing a tailored app experience. These features are rolling out in the EU just as Robinhood faces a potential legal challenge here in the US. The company disclosed earlier this month that the SEC sent a Wells notice warning of possible legal action over its crypto operations. All right, sticking with the SEC for our main story. All eyes are on the agency's expected decision on spot Ether ETFs next week. So Crypto World's Talia Kaplan spoke with Rob Haddock, general partner at Dragonfly, a global crypto venture capital and research firm, about what he thinks we can expect.
I want to start off talking about markets because the latest CPI report out today showed inflation easing last month, with consumer prices still rising nearly 3.5% from a year ago. Now, following that announcement, Bitcoin has been climbing, trading above $64,000 this morning. But in the days leading up to today, Bitcoin has been stuck in a range of around $60,000 to $63,000 after hitting new all-time highs in recent months, with all the excitement around ETFs and the Bitcoin halving. So what do you think is driving crypto prices right now, and what do you see happening in the weeks to come?
Yeah, I think broadly, Bitcoin prices and crypto prices broadly have been mostly affected by the macro environment. So you see that today with Bitcoin and ETH and the entire market price moving up post that CPI print. It was down on a month-over-month basis and down on a year-over-year basis as well. That follows what has been, I would say, a couple of months of unnerving reads and a little bit of concern that we might be having inflation pick back up. And so you see that the market is clearly playing off of these CPI prints. I think Bitcoin, even more than the rest of the market, is pretty obviously a macro asset, and it seems to be trading most in line with how much liquidity there is in the market. So whether or not quantitative easing is coming back, and whether or not we see the reduction of the bank balance sheets, and that's what the market is reacting to, and especially relative to where they expect interest rates to come, and whether they get cut or whether there is a potential hike in interest rates later this year.
And it certainly will be very interesting to continue to follow and see what happens. But, many people are paying attention to next week's expected decision from the SEC on spot Ether ETFs. The agency must decide on VanEck's and ARK's filing, which are first in line by next Thursday and Friday, respectively. Last month, issuers of spot Bitcoin ETFs told CNBC that the SEC is unlikely to approve such a product for Ether. That includes VanEck's CEO. I know you hold that same view. Why do you think the SEC might not greenlight the Ether applications like they did for spot Bitcoin ETFs back in January?
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is that we're pretty near zero in terms of the likelihood of a spot ETH ETF getting approved this month. I do expect it to happen eventually. I think the SEC has signaled that they do not want to engage on this topic right now. And I think there's a number of different reasons for that. Some of them are just political in nature, and it's clear that the SEC has wanted to, take a tough stance on the entirety of the crypto market, and they see this as, one of those beachheads. So whether or not they decide that the reasoning is because of staking, or the reasoning is because of, potentially that they see ETH as a security, which would go against CFTC guidance, I do believe that they will decide to deny the ETH ETFs this month, though I think that's just kind of the first and what will be a long battle.
So how do you think the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs back in January here in the US changed the landscape and sentiment towards crypto? I want to point to some data from Dragonfly's data scientist. According to the data, nearly $11.5 billion flowed into Bitcoin ETFs since launching, accounting for about 4% of current Bitcoin supply. The data shows flows into these ETFs over the past week slightly in the red. What do all these figures signify? And do you think the hype surrounding these products might be cooling a bit now, or is it just temporary?
Yeah, my belief is it's just temporary. The Bitcoin ETFs were by far and away the most successful ETFs at launch and within a month and 2 months that have ever launched, right? And so it far exceeded my expectations, and I think most of our expectations on how quickly they would grow. Becoming $12 billion of net inflows over that period of time is just an extraordinary achievement. And typically when ETFs launch, it actually takes quite a long time for the wirehouses, the wealth managers, the asset managers to be able to go through their investment committees and, recommend or deploy some capital into these types of ETFs. And so the fact that we had that much in terms of inflows in such a short period of time is in and of itself just extraordinary. I believe that we're just seeing the market start to digest that a little bit. And we will start to see, that longer tail of wealth managers, asset managers start to come in, but at a more, kind of normal and, slower moving pace over the rest of the year.
And it certainly will be very interesting to follow that as well. But last month, you were quoted in the Wall Street Journal in an article about venture capital deals as saying that your crypto-focused venture firm made roughly 15 to 20 deals each quarter in the years leading up to and including 2021. But since the venture market soured in 2022, that number was cut back to a handful. You did note, however, that Dragonfly increased the size of each investment by up to 4 times since 2022. So where do things stand right now, and how do you decide what's worth investing in? And generally speaking, what are you noticing as it pertains to deal activity?
Yeah, I mean, so for Dragonfly specifically, I think it's still status quo to what I said back then, which is we are really focused on getting the appropriate ownership and like large check sizes into things that we really believe in. And we're not doing is we're not spraying and praying. What we've actually seen very interestingly in the crypto market on the public side is that there's been kind of more differentiation between returns in different types of assets. So in 2021, I think it was a bit where all risk assets, inclusive of almost all crypto tokens, were gaining at the same time. Now what we're seeing is asset selection matters. And, traditional venture math would tell you that, you need to get a lot of ownership in the things that work, because that's the only way it makes up for the things that don't work. And so that's where we're really focused. In the market more broadly, I think we're seeing a lot of spraying and praying, to be honest, which is how I think we differentiate. So we see a lot of deals getting done, a lot of froth in the venture market. I think April, we were over 1.35 billion of venture capital that was announced. I think the actual number, pre-announcement is much larger than that. The deal sizes are getting big. The valuations are getting bigger. People are rushing to get money into the market because they're seeing this kind of stamp of approval that the ETFs have brought, that the price action have brought this year. And I think that spells a lot of bad things for these funds and potentially bad returns for people who are overpaying and forgetting that price still matters and that you have to be judicious with how you get into things, when you get into them, and what your appropriate sizing is.
Okay, that's all for Crypto World today, but we will be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.